Hi,
Hi.
welcome back. About a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the most valuable rerun units in Honkai Star Rail. Today, we're going to talk about something similar. Instead of rerun characters, though, this time it's lightcones. One of the most essential parts of any character's kit, unless they're break focused. It can provide you with either a cool stack system that increases your damage, or just be a stat stick. Some lightcones are pretty universal and can be used on basically anyone of the same path, while others are pretty hyper-specific but provide pretty insane buffs for the intended character. So here are the best 5-star lightcones in Honkai Star Rail, ranked. Before we start, you should like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and join the Aventurine Discord server, where you can find lots of people to chat with about Star Rail, and basically any other game or subject as well. This server also has a dedicated content creator chat where you can share and discuss analytics and ideas, so if you're a CC that wants to find other people in the same boat as you, the Aventurine server has you covered. Now let's stop yapping and let's get onto it. Starting off with number 7 on the list, Fuxuan's Lightcone. She already shut her eyes. Now you're probably not going to find much use out of this Lightcone on other units, especially since there are barely any preservation units, but the buffs it gives to Fuxuan are pretty significant. Most prominently is the 24% HP buff and 12% ERR. This gives her a nice HP boost, which is good and all, but an extra 12% ERR so she's able to use her ultimate more, so she can not only heal herself more, but also her allies. It also decreases all damage taken by allies by 9%, which is nice, and regenerates 80% of missing health for all allies at the start of every battle wave. This definitely negates her biggest weakness, which is not being able to properly heal allies if they've taken damage. Now with this, you don't have to worry about basically all damage your characters take in the first wave of any battle. Or second if there's a third wave like in Pure Fiction as well. If you don't have Fuxuan, I wouldn't get it, and if you have 2 other limited sustains other than Fuxuan, I also wouldn't get it, but if you're relying on her to stay alive and don't plan on pulling for any other sustain units in the future, I would 100% consider it. Next up at number 6, we have Jingyuan's Lightcone, Before Dawn. Other than having a similar name to a legendary horror game, Before Dawn provides some pretty universal buffs. It gives 36% crit damage, increases kill and ultimate damage by 18%, which also gives the wearer a stack upon use, which increases the next follow-up attack dealt by the wearer's damage by 48%. Most erudition characters in the game focus on follow-up attacks, and other than Jade, they constantly use their skills and ultimates as well, which gives a pretty good uptime on that FUA buff. Even if they didn't have an FUA, they'd still gain 36% crit damage, and a small yet pretty significant skill and ultimate buff. Other than Jingyuan, which is the obvious choice, there are also a few units that can utilize it pretty well, like Himiko and Small Herda, and even Qingque at E4. Jade can also utilize it, but won't have as much uptime as other units, so her own Lightcone is significantly better. Big Herda players who also don't get a chance to get her signature, but do have Before Dawn, will see some great use out of it as well, as it's probably going to be their next best option. At number 5, it's going to be Ruan Mei's Lightcone past Self in Mirror. Now Ruan Mei may be completely outclassed by Robin in every single scenario except for break teams, but Ruan Mei does one thing better than Robin, and that is her Lightcone. Sure, Robin's Lightcone gives herself some decent buffs and even 24% damage for all allies, but Ruan Mei's Lightcone does both these things and also gives an extra skill point every single time you use her ultimate, and also a free 10 energy for all allies at the start of every wave. One extra skill point may not sound like too much, but it has genuinely saved my ass so many times. You cannot sleep on that one extra skill point. The 24% damage is also a very nice add-on to her already pretty great kit, and the 60% break effect boost helps you reach her threshold to get the most damage you can out of her talent. You can also use her Lightcone on, of course, any other unit, but the one that's probably most useful is also Harmony MC. We all know how frequently Harmony MC can ult already, and if you give them her Lightcone then you get the same buffs for your team overall, but you'll also get way more skill points way more often, honestly pretty cracked. Sparkle's skill point generation, well, it's still better, but a usually 2-turn ult that gives you an extra skill point every time you proc it is pretty nice. Throughout Maze, it's more like 3 or 4 turns if she doesn't get hit enough, but it's still pretty good as well. Number 4 is going to be Jiaochou's Lightcone. We already know Jiaochou's E1 is one of the best E1s in the game because of the insane upgrade it gives him, but his signature Lightcone is also pretty damn good, and I would say it's just as valuable as his E1. If you don't have E1 as Ruan Jiaochou already, you're definitely missing out on a lot of damage. First of all, it increases effector rate by 60%. I'm not sure how much Jiaochou exactly needs, but 60% is an insane boost. It then yaps on about a couple states or stack systems, but bottom line is, you can increase the damage taken by enemies by an extra 24%. already very strong on Jiaoqiu, takes his damage increase from 35 to 50%, all the way up to 59 to 74%. It also has a few more ways it can be used, like on Black Swan for DoT teams, even though Black Swan's LC itself is already pretty strong. But it would be way more worth it to actually invest into Jiaoqiu's Lightcone than Black Swan's because DoT is kinda dead. Also, Black Swan's Lightcone focuses on the damage of the wearer more, while Jiaoqiu's focuses on the damage of all allies in the party. If we ever get a DoT support that makes DoT deal way more significant damage, or a support that increases the amount of DoT stacks or debuff stacks on an enemy, then Black Swans would be insanely valuable because she herself would be able to reach 50 stacks very reliably, but hey, that's just wishful thinking. I feel like I'm asking for a DoT buff in every single video now, we desperately need it. Either way, getting Jiaoqiu's Lightcone is definitely an easy way to start dealing way more damage. I'll put Aventurines in Hearthly Unjust Destiny at number 3. This LC is tailor-made for Aventurines. This is the only character that can truly utilize it fully, other than like Preservation March, who is kinda a really bad unit. Anyway, it increases defense by 40%, increases crit damage by 40%, and also allows the wearer to apply a debuff on enemies whenever they use a follow-up attack. Now, it's already very useful in teams where Aventurine is a staple unit like Fei Xiao, since it just gives a little extra damage to her, but it also allows Acheron to gain way more stacks for her ultimate. If enemies attack you enough, you could easily do multiple ultimates per cycle. Not much to say about this Lightcone, just that it's really damn good for this reason. It's unlike Trend of the Universal Market, which needs enemies to directly hit Aventurine and doesn't provide any other buffs beside that. And it can provide that extra debuff whoever the enemies attack, you just need Aventurine to do an FUA. Next up is going to be Sunday's Lightcone, a grounded ascent. Now, Sunday without his Lightcone doesn't exactly perform better than Sparkle everywhere. He does struggle in teams with down Honkai, for example, because without his Lightcone he is about skill point neutral. With his Lightcone though, aside from the buffs it gives which are on screen right now, it also allows him to become completely skill point positive. Imagine that. It's not like Branya's Lightcone, who has a couple turns delay and also is a 50% chance. It's just every 2 uses of a skill or ultimate it gives you an extra skill point. Sparkle's Lightcone does not correct her weaknesses whatsoever, just makes what she's already strong at slightly better. However, Sunday's Lightcone is so insanely valuable because it completely removes almost all of his weaknesses, which are his energy demands and his skill point usage. It's a very good Lightcone, you should definitely try and get it for Sunday. Finally, at number 1, you probably guessed it, it's going to be Acheron's Lightcone, Along the Passing Shore. So, of course, we all know that Acheron desperately needs her Lightcone. Never mind the crit damage buff it gives her, that's nice, but honestly, what we really care about is that it allows her to get 1 extra stack for her ultimate whenever she uses her skill. It's definitely what makes Acheron feel whole as a character. It kinda sucks they made it almost mandatory to be able to play her, but it is what it is. 91% of Acheron players have her Lightcone according to Pridwin, which honestly, according to Pridwin, isn't a very trustworthy sentence, but that's probably the only place where we can find that statistic. Without her Lightcone, she definitely feels way less full. It kinda feels wrong to play. It takes her a lot longer to generate stacks for her ultimate, and it just kinda sucks. I would say if you have Acheron but don't have her Lightcone, one of the best investments you can make for your account is indeed giving Acheron her signature. Having Jiaoqiu instead does help with the stack issue a bit, but it honestly just doesn't feel the same without her Lightcone. It's not so versatile to be used on other characters, but it's so insane on Acheron herself that I'm putting it at number 1. So that's it, let me know what you think, where you agree and where you disagree, and if you have a list of your own as well. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and join the Express Ruan Discord server for a very fun community where you can find people to talk with about Star Rail or just about anything. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.